Hello and welcome to Macro Mondays here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is November 25th, 2024. We're looking at Bitcoin as per usual. And to follow up with where we left off on Friday, and of course, what we were talking about in terms of what I wanted to see over the weekend, well, we've hit some of those targets, both to the upside and the downside. We're going to start in the lower term timeframes right now. Here on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, you can see that after Bitcoin got its big expansion up, we did see that it went into a short-term trend reversal setup and started to kind of tease a range. Went back into a compression, put in some higher lows and higher highs here, and then took off on expansion up to the upside here, just missing $100,000 by about $140 here, coming in at 99,860. Now, since then, Bitcoin went sideways and down over the weekend. So we now have we had a little bit of a higher low being attempted to be set here. It did not set on a close. Instead, we got a lower high, lower low. We got another lower high with a higher high swing and then a dump off. Now, this actually dumped off right to one of our key areas. I had mentioned that below $95,000 from this shorter term consolidation kind of structure where Bitcoin was kind of going sideways between around this $93,500 and $85,000 low down there, that I was looking for any kind of closures below $95,000 at this 1.168. This is not a 1.618, which is up here at 99,156, which we see Bitcoin did try to tag again before failing to actually hit it, coming up just short, and then the big dump off below $95,000. You see the 4-hour close below after the wick coming in below there. Well, next candle down hit our 92.5. So we have this 93.5 to 92.5. We did talk about 92.5 to $90,000, which is the 618 of this consolidation here. Now, on any closures below 92.5, I am looking for this 618 at around this $90,000 to get hit. You know, even if it kind of wicks below, it doesn't really matter. If we're seeing closes above $90,000, I do think we see a bounce back up. Now, the criteria for, entering an uptrend here on the 4-hour would be from here taking out this $99,000 high. It's $98,999, but basically it's $99,000, right? We would need to see Bitcoin trade back up above here to break this little downtrend that we have going on. But more likely, even if Bitcoin were to bounce here, even come lower, we're looking for like a lower high for it to beat out. That doesn't mean that it can't beat out the $99,000. So that is the upside area that needs to be regained for Bitcoin on the shorter term time frames, like a 4-hour. But don't be surprised if it puts in even a little bit of a lower swing high, right around $95,000, maybe 96 to 97, where the basis band is, something like that. And then we look to either get continuation past 92.5 for the downtrend, or we look for 92.5 to kind of hold up on a close, and wherever that lower high comes in, then we look for the trend break back to the upside here. Now, that again, I want to be very clear. $99,000, if we do see it taken out, like if this just kind of, gets V's its way out of here, right? Pumps its way out of here and takes out $99,000. Where am I looking? Well, I'm looking back to the highs around 100 to, I would say, even around 103 to 105 up here. You'll see that $100,000 or almost 100,750 here by the upper second would be fair game. And of course, as the upper third begins to expand, we're starting to look up to around 102.8 to 103 and above. Now, again, if I start to see closes below here, even if it's just in the lower term timeframes on wicks, I would be looking down to 91 and a half or so to $90,000 by the 618. If we start to see closes below 92.5 and we haven't seen 90K hit, I would be looking there next. Anywhere below 90K, we're essentially looking at 85 to this 90K. If 85 breaks down, well, then there's problems for the bulls in terms of this particular move up. I would start to look somewhere back around here in the 70 the 75 to 80 range initially. And then if that began to break down, then I'm looking at 75 as kind of like last bull stand right there before going in for a retest of the prior consolidation structure, 73 to 75. So did want to make that very, very clear. Let's go ahead and get rid of this fib and take a look at a few things on the 4-hour here, because, you know, now that we're getting some structure, we can define criteria in terms of horizontal support and resistance, right? Pretty clear on what we want to see. To the extremes on the downside here for this particular pullback, you know, I want to see the 85 to 86 and a half or so. It's about a $1,500 range as an area that holds up for the bulls if price were to get there. And to the upside here, we need to essentially see this retest area to the highs here taken out, right? So this is going to be kind of the overhead resistance that I want to see reclaimed by the bulls to move on to $100,000 and above. And now we have some structure. And of course, there is some medium-term time frame structure. You can kind of pull it whatever way you want. You can take this order block candle right here. You could take this high side structure the price is sitting on right here as kind of medium-term kind of checkpoints, right at 92,700 to 92.5 or whatever it is over here on this on the high side of these candles here, because we've already breached and closed below this this high side structure in this candle structure here. So you can kind of go like something like this, you know, and you can kind of pull this down through here, or even just take and encompass the whole top side here. And then, of course, there's the bottom side here. If we start to see, of course, this wick lost at 88,700, then we're looking down, right? But in the more medium term, you know, it's kind of right in the zone of support that you'd like to see it find some support. It is getting a lower term time frame bounce off of 92.5, which is that fib level. And, you know, you can refine this however you see fit. There isn't really dailies to go off of outside of the bigger daily structure, which we've kind of already highlighted here, right at the top side. And we're even giving some room to the bottom side of the daily structure. If you wanted to, you can pull this 87,340 close open structure here if you'd like, or even the daily higher low structure here. We did get a high painted to a low painted. So if you wanted to do dailies for this, you could. I'm preferring to kind of gauge it on the lower term time frames with volatility levels and Fibonacci levels. So that is just my preference right now. I might go back and change this by Wednesday this week to be dailies, depending on what occurs in the lower term time frames here. You don't have to have this set up exactly like I do. But if you, I would always say use dailies first. Identify the highs and the lows, the wicks and the closes, and mark those out. For me personally, I'm just kind of identifying the checkpoint criteria in the medium term time frame, like the 4 hour right now. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at the need for some bullish divergence to form. So it is telling me that this is likely going to test in and around the $92.5 to $90,000 range. Obviously, 92.5 is the top side of that area of interest, right? If we do start to see that close below, we're looking to that 90,000, anywhere below there, mid to upper 80,000 into that $90,000 area is fair game. We can also see that momentum is pointed down on a regular Stochh. This is not a Stochh RSI. What needs to be closed above right now in this current 4 hour candle is 96,800, almost $97,000 to turn this back to the upside here. And if we were to go to something like a 12 hour, this is what you need to pay attention to. When we get nice upside expansion like this, so we had the beautiful upside expansion of price action on the 12 hour. Let's go ahead and actually get the arrow here. So we had the beautiful upside expansion. We had a little bit of a compression as it lost the upper first and got some mean reversion, not even touching the basis here, and then spiked the upper third, upper second zone on this compression. Got a little bit of re-expansion, and then it's now fallen through the basis band. So it's lost the 20 simple on the 12 hour. you can see that the lower first standard deviation is coming in right across the top of the candles that I marked on that 4-hour right now. So at worst, for the 12-hour on closes, I do want to see closes remain above the lower first, but we could see it come down to the lower second and even below. I don't want to see closes below, though. That would initiate expansion down into this zone down here, 85 to 86.7, and possibly further down. But as it stands right now, nice big upside expansion to some mean reversion, a little bit of consolidation might be needed. And when we're in blue skies like this, it might not even decide to consolidate. It might just go right back up. So just be aware of that. That is always a possibility. We do have a nice uptrend, a little bit of a swing, higher low structure to lower high. This lower high is now locked in. This lower high is locked in as well. You're going to see this kind of an all-in-one high, but we do have a lower high to lower low now in terms of swing structure. We did not close this as a higher low, so the last higher low is still technically down here at 88,700 on the 12-hour to around 89.8, almost $90,000 on the close open there. So again, 90K coming up again and again and again. For volatility reasons, I'd prefer for the bulls not to see closes below this if I'm bullish. Now, I'll be quite honest with you. I'm short-term scalp short, so I have shorts on right now. So any further downside is okay by me. I did scale out at 95.5, and I'm willing to take lower high bounces in the lower term time frames to resize that position back up as it's not totally closed, just to give you some insight. Now, that's purely a hedge. That's just to make a little bit of money during a day trade. I'm not looking at this as like a long-term correction just yet. I'm willing to take, my stop is in profit. I'm willing to take the profit that I already had on it. I'm okay. And that's kind of just the way that I play. Now with the 12-hour, this is the other thing that we need to be aware of. So we do have, from the local structure on the way up, we have some drives. We have two valid drives of bearish divergence. So this high to this high here, this high to the all-time high up here. If we see a third one, I would be looking for more long-form consolidation. That's where we see some sort of a higher high up here that throws another bearish divergence, and it might even be in the territory of lower high. Lower highs might throw bearish divergence from some of the structure over here. So let me just double check. Yeah, maybe if it was to like swing high and then close the high from this guy here. But more importantly, maybe this area here if it's closing above. So just something to be aware of. All right, this is the other thing. So we have downside pressure in terms of Stoke here, momentum, 38,400, almost 38.5 is the number to beat in the next 12-hour candle. If Bitcoin kind of bounces at 92 and starts to regain 93 to 95 or so, I'd be looking for this to come down a bit and could potentially, get a little bit of a bullish reset on it before heading down further. That does, of course, remain to be seen. Let's go ahead and look at the daily. Daily areas of interest, pretty easy. We're going to go ahead and just make this go away for just a moment here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Basis band is right around 89,600, almost 89,700 here. Fair game. Wicks around there, of course, fair game. Last daily higher low it is now above. So if we were to actually kind of take that higher low structure as an area of interest, you would see that it's bracketing the basis band here, right around that $90,000. We start seeing $90,000 close below, we've either already hit this or we're trading below it, and in towards this structure here. Now you will see that below 85, we do have the lower first on the daily around 82,650. And then the lower second now is around $75,000. This would be an extreme move down through the bands. I'd be looking for a violent bounce if it did move down there in like a couple candles. Let's say there was some bad news and everybody decided they wanted to nuke it to get better pricing and positioning. I'd be looking at that as an area of interest to pick up. And it's in and around, this little bit of a consolidation here, right here, post breakout. So Something to be aware of is also we could just see price kind of go sideways, and that is a very distinct possibility. We get recompression of the bands, and then we gauge re-expansion from there. So daily, let me see here. Daily is not showing the signs of bearish divergence in trend. I mean, technically speaking, there is one drive here. This is so an expected correction. Oops. Sorry. Let me get this straightened out here. So we'll make this red. So there is, it's not registering it because the way the high was painted back there, but this is technically a valid bear drive. Higher highs here on the swing would do it. First drive is corrective. This is what we're seeing right now is a little bit of a correction on the daily, so not unexpected. I'd want to see 2 or more drives to kind of call for a consolidation, possible reversal into a downtrend on the daily, and we're not seeing that just yet. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly. We see that Bitcoin closed above the upper second and upper third standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands, further expanding our set of bands here. Beautiful, isn't it? Tap on the upper second at 92,800, and obviously a little bit of a wick below there to 92.5, which is our primary area of interest from Friday. Well, trading closing above there by the end of the week. It's continuation of expansion to the upside. If it does lose the upper second by the end of the week around that 92.8 to 92.5, where the wick low of the current daily is from Monday, then I would be looking for mean reversion back to wherever the upper first is. Oh, hey, that's at 80,673. And, anywhere below there, and we start having to entertain retests of the high side structure around 73 to 75, and then possibly down to 70, and maybe even the basis, which I think by then the basis would probably be up around 70, but currently at 68,500. And, in a crash scenario, that's got to be looking for mean reversion right back to it, to be honest. We're not seeing any in trend with this newly formed trend bearish divergence just yet. There is the possibility of a continuation drive or a bearish divergence drive from this high to this high, but I'm looking for in trend, and this is only just higher low, higher high, higher low. Or this is higher low swing, lower low close. So it's actually higher high, higher low, higher high. We need to see another higher low. So usually we like to look for those occurring on either a swing basis or a 3 candle, 4 candle, whatever structure to paint a closing low somewhere around the upper first, wherever that is at the time. Looks fine right now. I'm not very concerned. I'd still be looking for bullish resets on the weekly here. Closes above $96,000 would turn that or keep that pointed back to the upside. So trading a little below the beginning of the week, nothing too crazy. Let's go ahead and take a look at that 2-week again. Oh yeah, that's right. It's expansion, and the upper second is at what? $85,000. Remember on the 4-hour bottom side there, $85,000. We would like to see that hold if we're bullish. Now, we also want to see that hold through the end of the month here because we want to see this continued expansion to the upside on the 2-week, a 36/14. This is just beginning. Looks very good. Now, I will caution you that the upper third is already kind of in a big old range of expansion here. In terms of volatility, we haven't really seen too much expansion occur. We want to see something like this where the lower second drops off the map and we start racing above that upper second. This, of course, coming into the end of the month, that's at around 86,151. Again, local on that 4-hour, around that 85 to 86.5 range. And then the upper third is right there at 102 almost. This is 102 right now for the upper third. We want to see closures above there. That would substantially kick off expansion away from the moving average here to 17/12. So it looks good right now. This, of course, is, swing high to swing low to swing lower high to swing low. It's still just a higher low on the 3-week. Same goes for the 4-week. Nice higher low structure. We want to see that. We want to see Bitcoin, of course, by the end of the month closing above around 87,200. And then, of course, the upper third is at 105. We would like to see closures above there to really kick off expansion. But this is just now gearing up for expansion on the 4-week. Let's go ahead and turn off RSI and take a look at that expansive posture. And we need to get rid of the RSI there. We can get rid of my little bearish divergence that I drew. You can see that this is just setting up. We want to see this cross by the end of the month. That will happen on closures likely above the upper second here at 87,200, almost 300. Now, monthly is the next big one. Obviously, this is going to be closing before all these weeklies, right? So monthly is going to be closing on the 30th, and that is going to be Saturday, and then we'll get the weekly 2-week, 3-week, 4-week on Sunday. So we'll revisit this on Friday, and of course we'll check in on Wednesday this week. But this is at 88,400, so we do want to see closes above 88,400 on the monthly. So you can see that on some of the longer term time frames, the criteria for closing is actually getting a little bit higher, and that's essentially going to be my take on this as we come in towards the end of the month, is that we need to see closes above 88,400 or so. And then, of course, we need to see continuation for closes above the upper third, which will update likely to like $110,000, $112,000 range, which we do have some confluence with fibs. Let's go ahead and just pull that real quick from the local structure. And you can see that just above the 1888 here, we have the 2 spot at around that. I'm going to call it 110 to 112. This is 111,145, but kind of falling in the middle of kind of the range that I've given to the upside prior. Basis band is above the $49,000 higher low wick there. Looks fine. Structure is fine. I wouldn't be, I'm seeing a lot of people get really bearish on that. Oh, I couldn't even hit $100,000. It's all over, guys. Yeah, well, I mean, when you go on the run like we just saw on the daily here, that has now began to really get solidified on that weekly. Yeah, well, expect pullbacks. It's not the end of the world. All right. All right. So I'm going to let you all go. I will revisit this stuff, obviously, and check in on Wednesday. If you have questions, post them in the comments down below. It's much easier for me to actually answer questions publicly, because you might have a question that other people have, but they're afraid to ask. And then I can post a chart in response or something. So kind of giving you the lay of the land. Oh, one last thing. I keep showing it, but I want everyone to understand the correlation that we have for time frame. Nothing is really that much different from 2020 right now in terms of Bitcoin versus alts. You know, we see that Bitcoin dominance, spiked up to, what is it, 61.5 basically. I'm kind of looking up to closes on Bitcoin dominance above 62.5 for it to really start breaking out towards some of the macro 70% targets, getting back up here and testing and around there. Now, this is, a little cooked to the top side. It's been riding the basis band the entire way up. Guess what? It's headed right into support. But we are seeing some alts get a little bit of a mini alt season right now. Some have pulled back in terms of their Bitcoin pairs. But we are seeing Bitcoin pairs start to gain. And that's exactly what we're going to see for a little while as I knock into my microphone. I'm sorry about that. But I want to draw your attention to something that I've shown repeatedly, but I keep getting questions about it. Here is 2020. Bitcoin breaks out above the all-time high, right? So here's the all-time high. Bitcoin tests it in November. So we have November right here. December is when it closes above, right? And gets that really serious. We're already seeing expansion start, by the way, all the way back here in October. All right. So let's have a little context for history here. So let's go over here. We have September, October. Okay. We didn't even start the expansion in October. We just started to set the low in October. We set the higher low structure, right? And now it's what? November. Hey, let's just go pick on the top coin in terms of market cap outside of Bitcoin and take a look at its chart. Here's Ethereum. Hey, look at, this is maybe not the best chart to show for Ethereum right now because I have it all marked up. Oh, yes, here we go. let's go ahead and point out a few things. There is November, October, November, we started getting the expansion on Ethereum, right? So there is the real big, well, we actually started getting the expansion in July, but once it started trekking back towards its all-time high, in November, December timeframe, well, here's November. It was nowhere near its all-time high at the time, right? December, it was nowhere near its all-time high at the time. When did it spike its all-time high? January. When did it spike it again? February. And when did it break out and close above? March. All right, so understand that we're in this period with altcoins right now with Bitcoin dominance rising, right? And then when we look back here, we are coming from October into November. So remember where November was. November was just barely starting to get that kickoff and continue that expansion after putting in a higher low structure. We have higher low structure being built here. November, looking to confirm this as a higher low. Possibly, maybe get above 4K this month. If it can, we're looking for December to shoot for 4K. This isn't that much different than the prior cycle. What is different is what is happening with Bitcoin and the fundamentals. What is different is the prior cycle doing a couple things that we had never seen before prior to that cycle, right? We saw the first double top in Bitcoin's history, right? We saw significantly higher lows. We saw a lower high that kicked off expansion then to the downside for the first time ever in Bitcoin's history. We saw then a nice breach of the prior all-time high at 19,891, right? Well, that's the first time in Bitcoin's history that it got downside expansion and then reclaimed bearishly a prior cycle all-time high. So we got a couple first. First double top. Well, by the way, double top right on that upper second. And then we got our first downside expansion. We got the first breach and close below a prior all-time high. Oh, hey, what happened here in March just before the halving? We made a new all-time high. That has never happened before. So yes, this time is different, but it's not that much different in terms of structure and timing when it comes to Bitcoin versus alts and kind of where they are in their liquidity cycles. So please don't be fearful of this. This is, in my opinion, not financial advice, the time that you should be hunting all of the different things that don't have the narrative yet for alts and taking a look at the possibility of obtaining them. Again, not financial advice. You should be doing your research. Look for what doesn't have the heat yet, what hasn't already gotten the massive pump alongside Bitcoin, and kind of keep track of where the narratives are going and go and investigate in those ecosystems, whether it's those coins or inside of the ecosystems. And that's where you're going to find the most opportunity right now ahead of alt season. And yes, we will get little mini alt seasons when we see Bitcoin pull back during blue sky breakouts like this. That's what we're seeing right now. All right, you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all that being said, Landy out. Take care.